Kentucky Wildcats in 2023, I believe, going to be a little bit dangerous for the rest of the SEC. Now, this is not a prediction video about Kentucky and their final record. Like, we'll talk about that, I promise you, in the future. So make sure you're locked into this channel. Make sure you're subscribed. But I just want to say this. Last year, there was so much buzz around Kentucky because of Will Levis and what he was going to be. One thing led to another. He wasn't 100% healthy. They had trouble protecting him, and Kentucky won 7 games. I think 2023 is going to be a much better year for the good folks in Lexington. And it sounds a little bit funny to say, but I think you're in better hands at the quarterback position. And a lot of y'all paused your video and just started yelling at the screen, and that's fair. I understand. Will Levis, extremely talented, probably one of the best throwers of the football across college football last year from an arm talent standpoint. There's a reason why he's playing in the NFL right now this coming season. But here's the deal. Will Levis, the last 2 seasons, had double-digit interceptions. Devin Leary comes to Kentucky. He's never thrown more than 5 interceptions in a season. And so you can have all the arm talent in the world, but if you're not able to keep your offense on the field, you're not able to keep from throwing the football to the other team, well, then we got issues, man. And so I think when you look at this offense and the playmakers they got, they have a chance to be much better, in my opinion, because of who they have playing quarterback and how they take care of the football. Now, I'd be lying to you if I said that was the only part of this equation, because the big caveat is, okay, well, whoever's playing quarterback, we got to protect him better than last year. And that could be a very fair point you make when it comes to Will Levis, because Will Levis, I mean, he was sacked like 12% of the time last year, which is good for 128th in the country if you're Kentucky. So that's a big piece of this. I do think the offensive line will be better. We'll talk about that in a second. But when you have Devin Leary here, I don't think you take a huge step back in arm talent. I think he can make every single throw that you need him to make in this offense. And I think he's going to take better care of the football and get it to your playmakers. So for Kentucky, you scored 19 points a game last year. That should not be the case with an NFL caliber quarterback. I think you see a much better output this coming season from Kentucky with Devin Leary protecting the football and moving the offense. More thoughts on this. But make sure you're subscribed right here. We talk ball every single day. We're live tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you got the bell clicked on this very channel so you can get in the live chat with us when we get rolling there. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram at JD Piquel. We appreciate you in advance for that. All right, let's keep this thing rolling. Kentucky also went to work in the portal. And it wasn't one of those things like a Colorado or a USC where you go in the portal and just overhaul the entire roster. Like, that wasn't the approach for Coach Stoops and company. But what they did was really strategic. They saw what they needed, and they made adjustments and tweaks to the roster accordingly. For example, you lost 55% of your, you lost 45% of your production a season ago on the defensive side, only 55% coming back. So Coach Stoops goes in the portal, gets 5 guys on the defensive side of the ball to help him in 2023. Offensive line, we said it wasn't very good last year. So you go in the portal and add 5 new offensive linemen to help protect your new quarterback, Devin Leary, who's also from the transfer portal from NC State. Not only that, but you're going to run a pro-style offense this coming year. We all understand that. You ran a pro-style offense last year, but what is a pro-style offense more often than not predicated on? Got to be able to run the football effectively. And I'll say this, I think you got one of the sneakiest pickups from NC State, a backfield mate with Devin Leary there, and Demi Sumo Kongbe. Runs downhill, vicious runner of the football. Get used to saying his name, because a lot of us are going to have to pronounce it correctly here in the future, because he's going to do a lot of good things for Kentucky. I really believe that. Chris Rodriguez was awesome for Kentucky. I think Demi Sumo Kongbe is going to do a ton for you in terms of setting the tempo and setting the table for this offense and providing some balance with Devin Leary playing quarterback, again, with the portal additions on that offensive line. And the defense should be up to par as well, in my humble opinion, even with all the guys that you lose, all the production that you lose. So you look at how they addressed this roster. We were talking to Drew Franklin of KSR just the other day on the On3 Roundtable, and he told us, listen, they have a roster now that Kentucky fans really feel like finally they have a chance to compete for what they want to compete for. And the schedule is brutal. You got to go to Georgia. You play Alabama at home. You got to play Tennessee. You go at South Carolina. Like, there's a lot of pieces still that make the road tough for Kentucky. And even if Kentucky doesn't win their side of the SEC, I'll just say this, I think they're going to be extremely dangerous and have a really good chance to make somebody else's path to Atlanta that much more difficult. I would not be surprised if Kentucky were watching on, a Saturday in October or November, and someone that we think is just sprinting to Atlanta runs into the obstacle in their road that is Kentucky, and we're saying, hey, Kentucky, everybody was counting them out. But Devin Leary threw for 3 touchdowns. Defense played great. Barion, Brown, Tavian Robinson, Dane Key all went off, and Kentucky handed them that L. I think Kentucky is that kind of dangerous in 2023. Going back to what I just said, those 3 guys I just named are all another year more experienced in the system, especially Barion, Brown, and Dane Key. Now, system I use loosely. I understand it'll be a different OC, but the same pro-style system is still going to be in place. And I think just the fact that you have 2 superstar freshmen, and Barion Brown and Dane Key, to be another year more experienced at collegiate level, another offseason under their belt, really probably for them, like their first full offseason under their belt, going through winter conditioning, spring ball, into summer, like having that be a place where they're actually settled this time around and be able to get comfortable in the collegiate life, like from freshman to sophomore year, even if you're not playing ball, just as a student, we all understand that's a very big transition. Going from being wide-eyed, deer in the headlights kind of feel, not that they played like it, but in the college atmosphere, it's a shock to the senses. And then you get another year comfortable. Usually everything kind of slows down for you. I think that'll be the same thing for these guys on the football field. That's dangerous for the rest of the SEC. Think about it this way, too. Having 3 guys you can throw the football to. As a defense, it's just hard to have 3 different answers. Even more so, hard to have 3 different answers for these 3 different playmakers consistently. Kentucky's going to be able to threaten because of what Barion Brown does downfield, because of what Dane Key does downfield, because of Tavian Robinson in the tunnel screen. Like, when you have to consistently have answers for all 3 of those guys, it's exhausting on a defense, and it just takes one mistake to have 6 points. All right? Like, that's the kind of reality you're living in with these kind of playmakers on your roster for Kentucky, and with Devin Leary consistently delivering the football and not giving it to the other team. So with Coach Stoops, I believe that they have an identity that is solid. And when you have a team with a tough, solid identity and a quarterback that I think is dynamic and takes care of the football, that should scare any opponent that you play against. So for Kentucky, again, we're not predicting an SEC title at this point in time. Like, we'll do that much later down the road when we give you our, season predictions. But Kentucky, I'll just say this. They are going to trip somebody up. They're going to be dangerous. They're going to be a tough out every single week. I think this team will be a much improved version than what we saw in 2022 from Kentucky. So everybody in Lexington, get fired up. It's going to be a fun year. Make sure you're subscribed right here. We talk college football every single day. We want you a part of this community. We want you to join the party. We're live tomorrow morning. Get in the live chat. Have a good time with us. We appreciate y'all. Love y'all. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.